and they speak directly with their system, which makes it a very reliable solution and especially a very versatile solution. Now, the main reason for this collaboration really comes from the fact that both Basalte as well as Crestron, that we really go for that seamless integration of technology and design. And so that's where I'd like to talk about today. Let me see. Joseph, can you open up the slides again? Because I cannot control them. Sorry for that. Yeah, I think we're good. Or not. There we are. All right. Thank you, Joseph. Today is not going to be your average product presentation. My purpose towards you as a design professional is to help you see how, like I said, home automation can really make your designs look better, but also make your client's life easier. And so I've split it up in three main parts, where first and foremost, I'd like to share with you who we are and where we come from and what our perspective is on design for the intelligent home. Secondly, I'd also then like to dive in and make it a lot more practical in how scenes, comfort scenes, can make daily life easier for your clients using the power that comes from having an integrated Crestron system. And lastly, I'd like to complete the story by also diving into how we see that the details make the design. Not just the use of quality materials, but also functionality-wise, and also the fact that we have a very rigorous quality control process. Just real quick, Joseph, could it be that you're also using the mouse? I'm not sure, I see it going back and forth the screen all the time. All right. So,
it looks like he's controlling it. You're viewing his screen. Do you have control now?
Yeah, I have control.
Okay.
Or not anymore. Maybe I'll just quickly share my screen.
No, go. Try that again, Tom.
Give me 1 second.
Go ahead.
It's not taking it. Come on.
There you go.
There I go. Yeah, perfect. All right, quick rewind. Always happens with these webinars, so let's go on with this part of it. What I'd like to talk about is to give you a quick idea of where we come from. As I said, our niche has always been luxury private homes, and that's not a coincidence. If we go back 15 years, then we meet our co-founder, Klaas, who used to be a Crestron home automation integrator, and he worked on some of the finest European homes. Now, interestingly, he married Sandra, who's a very accomplished luxury interior designer working on European top homes. And what made it interesting is the fact that they're a couple and they have that blend of high quality, innovative technology with luxury design. They both saw in other projects that they got to know that typically clients weren't too happy with the home automation system. It didn't work, it didn't look the way it should, and clients weren't happy because it was way too complicated. And they were like, okay, maybe there's a better way. How can we evolve towards a situation, building on both our experience as a designer and an integrator, to build home automation products that work with the world's leading home automation systems, like for example, Crestron, and make sure that the clients, these highly demanding clients, affluent clients, that they can get a solution that is not only easy to use, but also looks damn good. And that's why they came up with Basalte. Now, two things about the name and then also our slogan. I'd like to share with you where the name Basalte comes from. Some of you may be familiar with the volcanic rock basalt, and that's also where we based our name on. On the outside, it looks gorgeous, very natural and very elegant vibe. But on the inside, it's a very strong, durable, and also multi-layered element. That's also how we want to make our products. We want to design them with that pure elegance and those timeless looks, but we really built them to last with a lot of possibilities and a lot of functionalities than you wouldn't typically expect. Furthermore, basalt rock also underlies more of the Earth's surface than any other rock, and it can be found around the globe. Just like we We sell in more than 60 countries worldwide. We have offices in Belgium, China, Russia, but also in New York, and also now establishing one in LA as we speak. Design for the intelligent home, that's what we do. Again, that combination of having the integrated part and then also Sandra's designer part, that seamless blend of design elegance, that's really what we wanted to convey. But you may notice that we're not calling it smart home, because when you would ask many people about smart home, what they instantly think of, and you maybe also thought of that, is that smart home stuff is the cheap stuff that you find in any Home Depot. Typically made in China, not always so reliable, do it yourself. That's not the league where we want to play in as Basalte. And I'm sure that's also not your league. Since you are at least familiar with Crestron, you've probably already worked with them, so you know that a high quality system demands much more than the standard do-it-yourself stuff that you find in a Home Depot. So that's why we decided to take it up a notch, call it Design for the Intelligent Home, to really stress that it's not just about having a smart product, but it's also about how can you approach the concept of home automation and simplicity of home automation in an intelligent way. And by that, we mean that we really want to take it from the perspective of the client. Now, to conclude this introductory part, home automation is more than just how it works and what it looks like. And what we've seen is that a lot of European and Asian design professionals already understand that. And they started to really embrace the discipline that home automation is within the projects as another way to wow their clients, to show them something unique, something different. And that's how you should also see Basalte Home Technology together with Crestron, or as part of a Crestron system. You should see it as an opportunity to distinguish yourself by showing the client something unique that they've never seen before, but they'll find so damn sexy that they'll want to tell all their friends about it. Because who can ignore a gorgeous brass Sentido keypad on this gorgeous natural stone wall? That's really what we want to talk about today. So let's get a little bit more practical. What I'd like to share with you today in this part are some real life examples where Basalte design controls together with the integrated Crestron system can really elevate the interior design, but also still keep it easy to control lights, shades, HVAC, etc. And to be able to do that, I will touch on a couple concepts like the comfort scenes. Now, some of you may already be familiar with these, and that's okay. You can see it as a good refresh because it is important for you as a design professional to at least be aware of these concepts and the context surrounding it. Home automation is here to stay for several reasons. The clients are more empowered than ever, and they've done their due diligence and did their research. They've probably seen good working systems with gorgeous design products like a Basalte, for example, somewhere else with friends, family, or traveling abroad. And don't forget that in the niche that you and we play, these clients typically already had a system in their previous home. They may have their dedicated home tech guy who is constantly keeping them informed about all the cool new tech stuff that's coming out literally on a daily basis. So long story short, if a client brings up a home automation for their project, you as a design professional should at least be able to join the conversation, but even better, lead the conversation. All right, let's dive in. So I'd like you to see some good examples of how integrated technology controls, so where all the lighting is connected to a central system, the same for the shades and so forth, how you can control that in an easy way using only a limited set of keypads and other controls, but still keep it easy and still keep it versatile. You will notice that I will start to illustrate this with the Sentido, which is our touch design keypad. But afterwards, I will then also go towards some of the other products that we make. This gorgeous project, or this photo of this project, is actually from a Beverly Hills spec home on Laurel Way, where they specifically wanted to have Basalte keypads all around the house because they really wanted to have something unique that was still easy to use. That's why they wanted to go for the Basalte keypads. And interestingly, they programmed the keypads as what I also find the best way. And that's going to be what I'll be explaining in a bit. But first and foremost, lighting is the most important technology that you'd want to control through a keypad in your house. obviously. That's an open door I'm kicking in here. But there are different ways of controlling your lighting. And back in the days, it was easy. You had a room where you had one lamp and you had one switch. That was easy. You walked in, you just flipped one switch because that's all you had. Now, if you look at this photo and you all know your projects, then you know that it's no longer just a one lamp, one switch situation. So it has made it more complicated. Now, what makes it dangerous is that when it becomes more complicated and you just follow along, then it could happen that you're going to be overcomplicating the controls as well. And that's what typically happens. Because if you would ask somebody how they would typically control one light, one switch, or 35 lights, and then they would say we control it with 35 switches. Each button would control an individual light. So that's one way how you can also program the Basalte keypads. Program them in a way that they literally each control one individual light. Now, that's okay if you have 5 lights, but if you have 35 lights and different circuits and different kinds of lighting, then it can quickly become overly complicated because you'll end up with a bank of switches on your wall, which not only looks not so good, but it also overcomplicates things. So if we want to take a step back and really consider how can we simplify this, one way to do that is to not allocate buttons to specific light points, but just group the light circuits together and the type of lighting that you're having here, like overhead lighting, sconce, accents, pathway. So you can quickly, when you walk in, control those specific light circuits. Now, when we take another step back and think about what we really do when we walk in the room, and I'd like for you to also think of that. What's the thing that you do 90% of the time when you walk in a room? It's not just turn the overhead lights on. Typically, you'll want all the lights to go on, but not full power. No, I want them a little bit dimmed down because full power is too bright. That's not comfortable. And I want that light to be a little bit more dimmed, and that light shouldn't be on. So what still happens if you're going to be grouping certain circuits, but still put them on dedicated buttons, that means that when you walk into that situation that you want to have each day, every day, that you still have to press each button, press and hold a little bit to dim the light as well if you want to. The point that I want to get to is that's a lot of hassle still. Because in essence, when you think of it, most of the time you do only 2, 3, 4 of the same things each day, every day in that specific room that you're at, like this living room. So it makes much more sense to automate the things that can help you reduce that hassle. How can we do that? We can do that by bringing these different levels, different ways that the lights should be on, off, dimmed down, dimmed up, bring it together in one preset and put that together in what we then call a scene or a comfort scene, so that you can easily, by a single tap, activate that scene, like a welcome scene. Walk in the room, tap the welcome scene, and the room goes on the way that you want. If you want to relax towards the evening, tap the relax button, lights are gonna dim, and then maybe the shades will lower. That's all up to you. Because in the end, what you're doing is, together with your integration partner and the client, you will determine, and you will also sit down with the client and really ask them, client, what do you find most comfortable? What does your typical day look like? So you can, together with the integrator, make sure that these scenes, these comfort scenes, if the client is comfortable with that, that they can do that, that they can have that programmed consistently on the keypad. Now, you could tell, okay, Tom, that's all good, and we knew about comfort scenes, and that's nothing new. For some people, maybe it was. Either way, I think it's a good refreshing. But then, what makes Basalte so special? Because Crestron keypads also have scenes. Well, there are these details that really make a big difference. About the finishes, I will get back to the finish a bit later on in the presentation. But there is one key feature that's unique for Basalte keypads worldwide. And that's actually thanks to the fact that all our keypads are touch sensitive, which means that at the slightest touch when you walk in, you can tap that keypad and it's going to activate the function you want. Now, what would even be nicer than having 4 direct buttons? It's being able to walk in the room, whether you're a child, elderly person, anyone, that you can walk in the room. You don't even have to look at the switch, just tap it and your welcome scene is activated. And you can perfectly do that by doing a short multi-tap on the keypad. You should see it as a big on-off switch. In addition to the 4 individual buttons that you see here. And that multi-touch, if you have it programmed in the keypads consistently throughout the house, is gonna be the most used function by everyone in your house. Not just the people living there, but also friends, family visiting, maybe staff that you have, because it addresses the key thing that we need, and that I also talked about in the beginning. Back in the days, you walked in, you turned the lights on, one switch. With this multi-touch, you're really bringing it back to the core of it, which is, again, tap it with your hand, and the lights will nicely go on. Some of you, let me see here. Now, these concepts are, of course, also relate closely to how you would like to control your shades, which is also possible with these multifunctional Basalte keypads. For example, you can have the upper button to raise the shades, lower button to lower them, or you could even use it to raise and lower the volume of the audio that's playing in your house. So it's really a multifunctional keypad that really enables you, together with the client and the integrator, to figure out what does the client like, what are they going to find easy to use, and have it put in that way. Just have a quick sip. Now, to summarize this part, the key message here that I'd like to convey today with regards to Basalte keypads and how we see the use is that we believe that keypads should only be used for your most often used functions that you then put on a keypad in a grouped way. Raise and lower all the shades at once. Don't have 5 keypads to control 5 individual shades. If you want to be able to control one individual shade or one individual light point, use that through the app or use the Crestron touch panel. But keep the keypad simple for the functions that you use most of the time. In the end, of course, how these are then programmed depends on the client. And that's the key last thing I want to share about this specific keypad. That is that in the end, with all these options that you have, and I've just wanted to share them with you today to really give you some inspiration. But in the end, it's all about the end client's user experience. So if you have an elderly client who wants to keep it very basic, that's fine. If you have a client, a young techie guy that just sold his billion-dollar software company in San Francisco, and he wants to take everything out of the keypad up until the use of that RGB LED in the middle, then that's fine. The key thing is that the client feels that they're in control of the system and that it's not the other way around. In the end, seeking comfort, and that's the portion of the message that I want to bring here, is about seeking simplicity. But in order to bring simplicity, you have to make choices for your key functions. And those key functions are the functions that your client will use most of the time. Now, logically, if the client then, once they start living there, they'll probably change their mind on some things. Obviously, the system can be changed afterwards towards their liking. Of course, depends then on if you have the keypad engraved yes or no, but then you can also easily exchange the cover if you want to. But we also have a solution for that. Now, the keypad that you've seen so far is not your typical American style keypad. That's the elephant in the room. It's a square keypad. But in the US, we've been using rectangular keypads ever since we know. That's something that we've also seen. And it's one of the aspects that makes a Basalte keypad unique compared to other keypads in the US. But it also sometimes comes with practical issues. And there are some other functionalities that clients have requested that weren't necessarily part of the European style. Long story short, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because we have been selling our products in the US for more than 8 years now. Both myself as well as the company's founders have often been in the US. We've done a bunch of design and integration trade shows. So we heard you, and that's why we also came up with a new keypad. This is a FIBONACCI keypad. FIBONACCI is a very easy to use 4-button keypad, which works exactly the same as a Sentido keypad. You have the 4 individual buttons, which you can use to easily control whatever functionality you would like to allocate to that, whether it's to control lighting, scenes, shades, even audio, video, that's all up to you. But why did we come up with a new keypad? Mainly for 2 reasons. Because Sometimes we had clients who already had their house, but they wanted to upgrade the keypads that they had in place, but they didn't want to mess with the wall boxes. So the good thing about the Fibonacci is the fact that it fits on a single gang US wall box. This is literally a one-on-one replacement option for any other American style keypad. So up until the last moment, together with the client, you can sit down and determine together with them if they would want to stay with a standard Crestron keypad, for example, or if they want to upgrade to a luxury Basalte keypad. Now, real quick, I'd like to share with you where this unusual form is coming from and why we also named it Fibonacci. Fibonacci was actually an Italian mathematician in the 13th century, and he came up with this mathematical row of numbers that eventually came down to the golden ratio and derived from that the golden spiral. Now, the golden ratio is a concept that often comes back in nature, art, music, but also in architecture. This ratio of 1 to 1.6, more or less, has been used by many artists in the past. Leonardo da Vinci used it with his Vitruvian Man. Le Corbusier used it with his modular system. And even some proportions of the human face also have that same proportion, that same ratio, which is why we humans also perceive this ratio, 1 to 1.6, as natural beauty, something that easily comes to the eye. And because a lot of architect and designer friends of me already told me that they even use the golden ratio as a rule of thumb in all their designs, we were like, okay, if that is the concept throughout your design, then you must be and you want to be able to have it pull through in everything that you have in the design. And we didn't want to make yet another 4-button US keypad, so that's why we came up with this unique design. And we are aware that our new American flagship keypad named Fibonacci, that it's not for everyone. And that was also not the intention. This is really to set a new standard, to really rethink what a luxury keypad should look like, especially in the US. Okay, after a quick sip. Now, to further go about the other products, I would like to share with you our temperature control keypad. We've already been talking a lot about lighting and shade control, but temperature control is another important aspect, typically also integrated. What we came up with is a unique temperature control keypad in the same size and finish and the same form as a Sentido keypad. And by that makes it a really nice integrated solution, and I'll show you an example of that in a bit. But again, DESEO is very easy and straightforward to use, where you can tap the upper button to raise the set point, lower the set point, tap on the left to change the fan speed, and tap on the right to change your temperature mode. But what's cool is that it's not just a temperature control keypad, it actually has that same multi-touch functionality as well, where you can tap it with your full hand and it's easily gonna activate a welcome scene. This is about the, sorry, there's just somebody at the door. Sorry for that, guys. So the temperature control keypad, like I said, already has the same size, form, and finish as a lighting keypad, and this nicely shows that, as well as also our in-wall motion sensor. And this is actually a great example of what it then looks like. At eye level, with that display, you have the temperature control keypad, and then nicely below it, you have your lighting control keypad. This is a big move away from a lot of systems these days, also in the US, where you have a temperature control keypad from brand A, a lighting keypad from brand B that totally doesn't look alike, and then an outlet from brand C, probably in plastic, that also doesn't really look that luxurious. We want to move away from that. That's why we very distinctly chose to only make our products in high quality metal finishes, but also make sure that they have a uniform design. And we pull that uniformity through in everything we do. This is actually our new upcoming Chopin keypad. And this keypad is unique in the sense that it's our first mechanical keypad. How is it mechanical? Well, we named it after Frédéric Chopin, the former piano genius composer who played the piano. And these keypads, these Chopin keypads, also have tiltable levers, which you can use to very intuitively control lighting, shades, music, all up to you. It's that same concept. And It's a more classic style concept, so you can imagine how great this would work in the townhouses in New York City, for example. Furthermore, we've talked about keypads, but there are also other things on the wall, like step lighting, for example. So that's why we also made the VIA walkway light, which is installed at outlet level. And this walkway light is again in the same size, form, and finish as our keypads. And it can also be flush mounted, but I'll get back to that in a bit. So that you have a very neat, subtle walkway light in your hallway, but equally also in restrooms, powder rooms, maybe in a home theater. Because what's cool is the fact that it's a low voltage light, which you can thus also make dimmable, and you can also make it part of comfort scenes. Now, last but not least, with regards to whatever goes on the wall, it is important to note that we also just released our own outlet covers as well, because that was like the last piece of the puzzle. We had the keypads, we have the temperature control keypads, we had a nice walkway light, but we didn't have our own outlets. So that's why we came up with covers and an adapter plate, so that you can place in whatever decor style outlet that you prefer, but then have the same cover plate as with your Basalte keypads to really have that design uniformity go through. Now, aside from keypads, which are very manual control, you can also automate even more some functionalities. We've been talking about that welcome scene where you just tap it with that short multi-touch and all the lights nicely go on in that preset, but you can also have that done automatically. Now, what I've learned is that when you compare the European and Asian markets with the North American markets, I tend to see that motion sensing in walkthrough areas like hallways, restrooms, isn't so often used for various reasons. What we do see is that, for example, in California with Title 24, more and more this kind of occupancy sensing is required by law. And that's why we do see a growth in the interest in it. But when I then really ask my architect and designer friends why they don't want to have motion sensors, and typically it's just because it looks so damn ugly. It's your big egg on the ceiling, big, bulky, real fat American design. We wanted to do it differently. And that's why we have this miniature flush AURO motion sensor. It has a round flush design. Its visible diameter is only 2 inches. And this way it is almost invisible in the ceiling. And what's cool is that it even has a built-in LED light. So you could even use it as a light during the night to break the darkness when you wake up and you want to go to the restroom or grab a drink. Now, when it's in the ceiling, especially the white one, then obviously it's almost invisible, as you can hardly see it here. So I drew a small arrow to kind of point the attention to it. But there are certain situations where you would like to have a motion sensor put in place where there's not necessarily a ceiling. Like when you have a stairway case with an open ceiling, then of course, when you want to go up the stairs, you want the lights to automatically go on. So a solution that we have for that is this wall-mounted version of our motion sensor, where again, you see it in the same finish, size, and form as all the keypads, but this way you can have it nicely in the wall. Somebody passes through it going up the stairs, and upstairs the lights can nicely go on. Now, as a last part of this product portion, let me see how far we are. We have another 10-15 minutes of my part, and then Michelle will take over. There's one last thing I wanted to show you and what we do when we make products, and that's actually that we also make iPad mounts. Now you could say, huh? Basalte, they're keypad guys, why the hell would they start making iPads? Which is a good question. But then when we pick it back from where we originally started, then we know that Basalte makes design for the intelligent home. Not necessarily just design keypads. Why not also design iPad mounts? Because we've been talking about how we can simplify the use of our keypads. And the key way to do that is by limiting what you can control with the keypad to your most used functions. But all the rest, like I said, you put that on your Crestron touch panel or you control it through the iPad. Now, the iPad, and I don't have to tell you, but the iPad tends to disappear because you can also play some fun kids games on it, or the kids leave it lying around, and then that's the exact moment that you want to check your security cameras. Plus, typically, they always forget to charge it. So that's why we also make our own iPad docks. But again, in that same design philosophy of having a very minimalist product, but always made of high quality finishes. And this is a great example, our wall dock version, where you have the sleeve itself being as minimalist as possible. And then the wall base that you can see on the right, again, has that same size, form, and finish as a Basalte keypad. So when the iPad is on the wall, it looks very subtle. You're not going to bump it off. It's not sticking out too much. When it's off, when you have the iPad with you, you will only be seeing that square, which is in the same finish and form as the keypads. And when you have that sleeve in your hand, you can place it on the wall base as you've seen here, or you can also place it on this very nice table stand that we've made. And what's cool is that the table stand is not just available in your standard black, white, and aluminum finish, but we can go all out. By which I mean that you can also have a brass finish stand. The sleeve is available in aluminum with the white, black, and aluminum. So you can really mix and match, really match up the finishes of your technology. And that's not just the iPad mounts, but also all the rest, and have it really become a part of your interior design. And that is the last part of what I would like to talk about for the remaining 10-30 minutes. That is how we really put in so much effort in the details, because they really make the design. Our core concept that we always maintain in the back of our mind when we design products is Da Vinci's famous words: simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. We design all our products to their core essence. Look at any product that we make, and you will not find any unnecessary frills. They're clean to the bone, they're elegant, they have that timeless vibe to it, they're very minimalist. Some may even label it contemporary, but thanks to the timeless design, we have also seen that our products are being used in some of the finest classic style properties, but I'll give you a better idea of that a little bit later on in the presentation. Now, everything we do with Basalte, from product design, R&D, up until manufacturing and assembly and quality control, all happens in-house with us in Belgium. This is an important part I'd like to stress. Nothing's made in China. We have a sales office there, and there are great guys there, but nothing's made in China. We all make it with us in Belgium, and together with our subcontractors, we are literally working in a radius of only 50 miles around our headquarters near the town of Ghent. And that's an important part in what we do, because we only use the most exclusive materials, and I'll get to that in a second. We use aluminum, brass, bronze, copper, and we feel and we find that these can only be treated by passion, with passion, by our craftsmen and craftswomen. And it sounds like something very cheesy, but you should really speak with these people. Maybe we should make some videos with marketing. I'm going to write that down, because we'll never outsource our production process in that way, because it's so important that we can maintain that top level of quality, because that's what you, but also our clients are expecting. Same as that we also have a very rigorous quality testing process put in place with us in-house, because we cannot let anything subpar leave our facilities, and we're very strict in that. You'd sometimes be surprised at what we don't find suitable. Even the slightest unevenness, we do not let that pass. Quick sip. Oh, about the finishes, I already touched on it a couple times. We made sure to not have an abundance of finishes, but we did make sure that we have a very comprehensive offering of finishes. By which I mean, in the upper line, you see the aluminum finishes with that brushed aluminum, black, satin white. These are quite the standard finishes. And these are great to have your Basalte keypads, thermostats, outlets really blend into the interior or stand out. But what's even nicer is if you can really have it blend into the interior. And what makes it blend more than anything else, that is if you can have the same finishes as the other elements that you've placed in your architectural space. By which I mean, if you have a gorgeous brass finish for your architectural hardware, maybe something in your furniture, I don't know. But if you can have that go through in your home technology as well, then you can really make this a true part of your interior design. And that's the whole point of what we do. Bring that design in the intelligent home straight from the beginning. So it really becomes an integrated part, because that also gives the home automation installer a lot more freedom to help the client really determine a system that's perfectly attuned to them, instead of them being pulled into the process somewhere towards the end. Now, the bottom finish row, to name so, are the fer forgé, French, for forged iron. And the lower left, fer forgé gray, was actually originally a custom finish. And it was a custom finish for a client who had their architectural hardware, the doorknobs and all that. They had that in that specific finish, which was done by only one firm worldwide, and they are based in Brussels. And they asked if we could make our keypads in that same finish, which we did. And then eventually we took that sample with us to architectural trade shows. And when we then told the architects and designers we met there that this finish, the texture that you can see, that is literally somebody sitting down at a table in Belgium doing this with a hammer and a chisel, then they were sold on it. So that's why we decided to also make these fer forgé, the forged iron finishes, also a standard finish. Now, these are the basic, comprehensive finishes. You can do a lot with it, and this can integrate in a lot of different varieties of interiors. Some interiors do request that next level. And what could that next level look like? We've done in the past, we've done white leather keypads. We've done black glass keypads. What I find the coolest is the right one, which we did for a Russian client. And what you're looking at is a 24 karat gold plated Basalte keypad all around the house, 90 pieces. That was a crazy project, but it's for those projects that we do it. And it's those projects that I know that some of you are also working on. And when I say that we only focus on the top of the market, then I can say that confidently, because for some clients, the sky is the limit and they want to go all out, and then we cannot stay behind. So if you have a client with specific requirements with regards to finish, then that's definitely something we can look into. Another portion of that is the customizability of the finishes and the options that you have there. But obviously, if the interest comes up to also have the keypads flush mounted, this is possible. There are different manufacturers who make flush mounts that can go in a variety of materials, where you can then have the Basalte keypads, but also the step light, the motion sensor, the outlets, that you can have them all flush mounted. All right, let's see. We got another 7 minutes. That's perfect, because I'd like to finalize with two things. First and foremost, this about how we make sure that you have all the right tools to, if you want to present Basalte to your clients. And then I will show some really cool reference projects that we've done in the past. Now, first about this, like I said before, the US and Canada, they have a very special place in our heart. And we've been working with you guys for a long time now, and we've learned a lot. And we've made sure that our organization is attuned to indeed make sure that we can handle all those needs. I see a question from Brian coming in on fer forgé. It's not recommended to be engraved. That is true, because you do have that texture, which could mean that it's not going to look as sharp as you'd want to. But we've had some clients who've tried it in the past. So if this is something that you want to specifically further review in detail for your client, then I do have some example photos that I can share with you. Feel free to reach out to me via email or telephone. It's also in the chat box. Now, to get back to the sampling, what I was saying, thank you for the question, Brian. It's a good remark. What I did want to say is that we've made sure that both our products as well as our organization are up to par with what you and your clients are expecting. You will not have to wait 3 or 4 months for our products. We ship quickly. We make sure that we have the best partners that we work with on the integration level, and we make sure that we partner with the best systems, being Crestron. But also, we understand what process you go through if you're sitting down with the client and you have your mood board of the variety of finishes that you'd like to use. So we spare no cost nor effort to help you present our luxury control options to your clients. I said it in the beginning, Joseph has this gorgeous space in the Dakota and Florida. Crestron has various other spaces around the US as well, with very knowledgeable people like Brian, who really know what they're doing. And they have a full Basalte demo kit on display in their showroom. Furthermore, if you would like to have your own personal sample, then this is something I can also help you with. We have a couple options. I'm not going to dive in too deep right now, but this is something that I can definitely help you with personally, because again, every project is special and every project deserves its attention. So today I'd like to end my share of the presentation by briefly, in another couple minutes, go through a couple nice references of what we've done. And I think the best example of to show how Basalt can look in a home is by showing our own concept home. This is our concept home that we have in Ghent in Belgium, which is a house that's more than 100 years old, that we've fully renovated. It's got the latest and the greatest home technology, including Crestron inside. And what we did is we nicely integrated Basalte keypads in this very transitional mix of contemporary and classic elements. But we made sure that they always nicely blend in. Like in this example photo, where we have a white 2-button Sentido keypad on a white wall. You hardly notice that the keypad's there. And the keypad itself is also programmed that way that you can easily raise and lower the shades by tapping the upper and the lower button. And then by doing that short multi-tap with your full hand, you can easily activate a welcome and a goodbye scene. Furthermore, we also have our iPad mount in the kitchen so that you have your screen always readily available, together with some multifunctional keypads, which among other functions also enable you to quickly turn the radio on, and also using that same multi-touch if you want to, that's another option. And then also press and hold the upper button on the keypad to raise or lower the volume. And lastly, on our concept home, we have this gorgeous media room, which we made a little bit more eclectic. So we, of course, made sure that the finishes also matched in that sense. So here we have the gorgeous brushed nickel thermostat and lighting keypad on this gorgeous purple wall covering. All right, 3 more projects to go out with a bang, and then I'll leave the word to Michelle. First and foremost, this is a little bit more of that gorgeous project that we already saw the living room of before, this spec home in Beverly Hills, where this developer requested to have the unique Basalte keypads in a variety of finishes, each time matching the specific interiors of that room. What you see on the right in the middle is the kitchen, which is very much white. So we had a white glass keypad there. But then you have the media room in the bottom right, where you have the very dark tones. So we then also added in the darker bronze tones. Let's cross the ocean to this gorgeous London mansion renovation, where they also fully equipped it with Basalte luxury keypads. And what's cool is in the largest photo here on the left, you can see the 2 perfect examples of how you can have Basalte in your interior. On the left, near the door, you may notice that square, which is the bronze Basalte keypad, again on a dark wood. And then in the middle of the photo, right next to the other door, you see this dark square, which again is a bronze Basalte keypad, but on a white wall. And again, here as well, they're programmed in a very simple way, but again, the multi-touch function that's used the most. To go out with a bang, there's one more project I want you to see, and this is my personal favorite. And the reason I put it in is just because it's something I also touched on before. Many people call Basalte keypads perfect for these white blocks that you have in LA, but they're not a fit for traditional style homes. My townhouse in New York, Basalte doesn't fit, it's too contemporary. I want to show them this project. This castle in the heart of Europe is more than 200 years old and has been fully renovated a couple of years ago to really, again, have the latest and greatest with regards to home technology inside. Here we also have Basalte keypads throughout. And even though it's a very classic, old school setting where they really maintain the classical elements, we did have Basalte in there as a part of the design, very subtle, but because we used some of the classic finishes like the bronze and also the brass, it really becomes a nice part of the design. All right, well, thank you very much for your time today. My name is Tom. I've been with Basalte for a while now. I'll stay with them for much longer. I'll gladly pass the word to Michelle of Crestron. If there's anything else, if you have any questions, you have my contact details in the chat as well. And then I now gladly pass the word to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Tom. That was an absolutely amazing presentation, and I especially love seeing all of those projects with Crestron and Basalte integrated together, and that really is what makes you such a great partner of ours. So I'm going to go ahead and try to control this screen. There we go. All right. So really, you know, we have an integrated partnership with Basalte, and the reason why we formed this partnership is because as all of your design build professionals are out there choosing products and specifying products for your projects, we really wanted to give you a very unique offering with the high quality and beautiful aesthetic that Basalte can provide. So with Crestron technology, we're going to be able to provide that end-to-end technology solution. So that's going to be everything from the very important lighting control we discussed to the motorized shades, climate control through the HVAC, and then even expanding that into the audio and video. And all of that technology can be seamlessly integrated into the Basalte keypads and other Basalte products in a way where it's a native connection to our systems, and it doesn't require any additional extensive programming. It is something that is called Crestron Connected. So these devices would function just like our own Crestron device would from a keypad standpoint, because it all connects seamlessly through our system. And you know, we found that the Basalte brand really aligns with, you know, the quality that Crestron puts into manufacturing our products as well. We manufacture everything here in North America. We don't outsource anything overseas. So the brands really work together synergistically to provide you with a really great solution to offer your clients. And then of course, the beautiful clean aesthetic of Basalte is just absolutely second to none. So just to kind of summarize this as we're nearing the end of our presentation here, both Crestron and Basalte, Tom and myself and the rest of our business development team, we are really here to help you seamlessly integrate technology into your designs. We don't want technology to overpower the design. It is such an integral part of homes these days, and really when we work together and collaborate with design build professionals like yourself early on in the process, it allows that integration of technology into your designs to create, you know, beautiful solutions like we've seen today in the Basalte demonstration and presentation here. So we can really help provide you with solutions to where your design can stand out at the forefront. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this presentation today. We've mentioned our showroom spaces. So Joseph, who's our host for the call, he's down in the South Florida market at our showroom in Fort Lauderdale. We also have a showroom that's open in Houston and a showroom in New York City, which is still closed at this time for safety with the COVID pandemic we're experiencing. But we can also offer virtual consultations as well. We do have these sample kits in our showrooms, and we're really just here to be an added resource to all of you. So thank you, and I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Joseph so that he can go ahead and get started with any questions that we might have.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. That was fantastic. Thank you. And thank you, Tom. What a great presentation. That really opened up our eyes to what other options are really available in our for our intelligent solutions or intelligent homes, which I love that new wording. I really like that. Thank you. I have some questions. If anybody, if there's any questions here, also, yeah, if there's any, yeah, they're posted to the chat. Let me go ahead. Tom, are you still there? Tom, did we lose him? I think we lost Tom.
I can see him still here, but he's on mute. Tom, if you're talking, you're on mute. Okay.
Yeah, he's...
Joseph, can you unmute? There we go. Perfect.
There we are. Thank you. Thank you.
Tom.
I'm sorry. Can you just repeat what?
I have some questions here that came in through our chat. And hopefully you'll be able to answer this for us. It's about the cleaning process that someone was checking on. Since they are such specialized finishes and in such heavy touch areas, is there any special maintenance techniques or anything that needs to be adhered to?
Well, we made sure with our finishes that they are, the majority of them, 90%, are not really fingerprint sensitive. But aside from that, since we are talking about aluminum, nickel, brass, bronze finishes, you should just maintain the same cleaning process as you would with any other furniture or so in the same finish.
Okay. Are they living finishes or stable?
They are stable finishes. We had some more living finish with the bronze in the past, but all these are made to be used inside. So as long as everybody uses them inside, they will remain the way that they are when you purchase them.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, there is another one here. Can this be used as a normal switch?
That's a good question. I think it was from Ashish. So it cannot be used as a normal switch. It is something that we have considered when the company was started. But because we really want to elevate the game, really take it up a notch and really bring it back to simplicity, the only way that you can do that is through connecting a Basalte keypad to an integrated system. So you can have that multi-touch functionality and so forth. So long story short, our keypads are only available to integrate with centralized wired home automation systems. They cannot be used standalone on a 110 volt installation.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. There's another question here that I'm seeing. Are all the European products also available in the US, or are they different from the European product line to the American product line?
That's also a good question. To give some context on that, the majority of our products that we sell in Europe and Asia, which you also see at basalte.be, these are products that work with KNX, which is a different home automation system. But in the US specifically, we only sell our products that work with Crestron. So that is, for North America, the best way to go. Either way, if there are specific requirements for specific projects inside or outside the US, I think that's best something they can check in with me directly. You have my contact details in the chat all on top.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Someone is asking about lead times on something like this. Can you give us an idea, more or less, what kind of time frame we'd be looking at for some of these products?
Yeah, so our products, for all the standard finishes, and then I'm talking about the aluminum classics, these are readily in stock in large enough quantities, both the keypad electronics as well as the finished cover plates. So typically the delivery time for that is about 4 weeks to the custom integrator. If there are specific requirements, let's say a custom finish, then obviously that will be longer. That depends on what kind of finish we're looking at doing. If the client desires to have the keypads labeled, then this is a customization process that happens with us in-house for the Sentido keypad specifically, and that typically adds in another 2 weeks. So standard keypads, 4 weeks. If they want to have them engraved, 6 weeks.
Okay. Also, another question here that came into our chat, can they integrate with the Legrand Vantage solutions?
Well, we as a company, we focus on the top of the line projects, and what we've seen is that typically that has been historically Crestron and then also another system. I know that some integrators have found ways to integrate with Vantage, but it's not something that we actively support. If there's a specific request for that, then this person should best reach out to me, and then we can further look into the specific requirement.
Okay. All right, let's see. And one more question here that I'm also seeing. Do you match custom finishes? Meaning, do you create your touchpads with finishes to match any finishes within the home?
So we've done that in the past, like that Fer Forgé finish that I was talking about with the texture. It is something that we can also do for new upcoming projects. But of course, as with anything that's done custom, it's probably not going to be a very cheap solution if you just want to do it for 1 or 2 keypads. But if we're talking about having a custom finish for a complete project in a metal finish, of which they can also send us a sample, then it's definitely something that we can look into.
Excellent, fantastic. Well, that's all I have here on this side. I don't see anything else coming in. Let me take a look. Nope, I think we've really covered them all, Tom. I really think we have. Well,
Perfect.
Thank you so much. Again, our information, our contact information is all in the chat there. If you would like to reach out to us, the email address as well as phone numbers are there to best access us. So I thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, everyone, for your time. And we look forward to our next presentation, which will be in about 3 weeks. And we'll be definitely posting that on websites and our social media sites soon. So we look forward to seeing you in the future again and keeping you abreast of everything that's going on with smart home automation. Thank you so much and have yourselves a great day. Thank you. Tom, you there?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's just everything else. Let's see. Oh, still a few people on there. All right, I'm just going to get off of this. We'll talk later. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.